Hello, it's John Heaton, and welcome to Lake Balaton here in Hungary. And I'm going to review this album from Bob Dylan, Tempest, his last release of original material. Came out in 2012. I hope the sound is okay on this video. I had a couple of people say that they couldn't hear me on the last one, so I'm not sure why that was, because I've got a microphone. So anyway, since this album came out, Bob has released 3 albums of American Standard Covers albums, and we're still waiting for the follow-up to this album. And I made a video about this the other day, and I responded to a debate which was going on me and Mr. Mayor's channel about whether we needed more of these covers albums. And I'd just like to make it clear that whilst I like the covers albums, I would prefer another album like this of original material. Okay, so I know it was quite a long discussion on that subject, but this is another tour de force latter day Dylan album, and really have no right to expect him to produce work of this quality these days, but he's still coming out with them. And I didn't bring the vinyl down to Lake Balaton, I didn't want to get it warped, but this is a pretty cool cover. And by the way, a lot of people thought it was his last, because Shakespeare's last play was The Tempest, and this album's called Tempest. And Bob was asked about this in an interview, and he said, no, this album's not called The Tempest, this is called Tempest. So put that one to bed. And to be honest with you, I doubt it is his last album of original material. I think we'll see him come back with another one before long. So there's a nice label on the vinyl which I haven't got to show you, which is kind of black with the red lettering, a bit like the inner sleeves. And this is a nice picture of Bob, and then a picture of the band here, which he played with for many years. This is basically his touring band. And then so Bob Dylan, guitar, piano, vocals, Tony Garnier, bass, George Retzelli on drums, Donny Heron, steel guitar, banjo, violin, mandolin, Charlie Sexton, guitar, Stu Kimball, guitar, David Hidalgo, guitar, accordion, violin. Produced by David Frost, by Jack Frost, who that's a pseudonym for Bob. He's been producing his albums for the last few. So let's go through the tracks. And the opening track, Duchaine Whistle, is a delightful old-style number, shuffle beat, nice tune, very well played, and there's a very amusing video for this. You check it out on YouTube, just Bob walking down the street with his cronies, and whilst he's doing that, there's a guy trying to chase a girl, and it's all quite amusing, good humour, and Bob's straight face makes it basically good video. One of his more successful music videos, I'd say. He's not trying to lip sync the song. He's literally just walking down the street from different angles. It works well. So great opener. And then Soon After Midnight is just one of his beautiful ballads which he's produced over the years, with some amusing words. Charlotte's a harlot, she dresses in scarlet. Mary dresses in green. It's soon after midnight, and I've got a date with a fairy queen. Just really innocent, uplifting words, and I just think it's very beautiful. And his voice is suited to this song. He's singing it well. Whereas on the next track, his voice, and I don't know, the jury's out on this, whether his voice has deliberately affected this growl which he has on certain songs. Like on this song, Narrow Way, it is extremely growly. Bit like on the cover version he did of Things We Said Today for the Art of McCartney. Almost a caricature of his latter-day growly voice. And I know it's not necessarily the way he has to sing, because on the Standards albums we've had some perfectly normal, for want of a better word, vocals from Bob without him having this growl in his voice. So I'm not sure if it's affected or just maybe he does it in certain songs to suit the mood, but obviously smoking over the years may have contributed to this, but as I say, it's not necessarily the way he has to sing on every song. So I think it's just another piece of armoury in his repertoire which he calls upon whenever he needs to, and it's quite effective on this song. This is quite a dark song, some pretty harrowing lyrics. Some people have hinted at a religious undertone. It's never too easy to tell, but a very moving song. Long and Wasted Years is another good slower number, and interesting that he quotes the lines from Twist and Shout. He says, "Shake it up, baby, twist and shout," which is quite interesting, tongue-in-cheek. And then actually later in the album, we'll come to Roll On John a bit later. But Long and Wasted Years, yeah, really movingly sung by Bob, and I like it a lot. Pay in Blood has Dylan featured on piano, and again he's got his growl voice on top form here, if that's the right word. And again, I think it was the Ultimate Music Guide who said that the body count on this album is quite high. A lot of people copying it and stuff, and Bob singing lines like "I pay in blood but not my own." It's pretty good lyrics here on this one, all through the album as usual with a Dylan album. I mean, not always the case, but on this one, it's up there with his best, I think. Scarlet Town is a long workout number, and just interesting because it's basically all in one key. I haven't checked out which key it is, and there's only a chord change on the last couple of lines of each chorus, if that's what it is, a chorus. Hard to tell. So quite monotonous in some way musically, but quite effective and gripping, because the words carry the song, as is often the case with Dylan, and the repetition actually becomes a strength, not a weakness. So I think this is, and then when the key change does finally come, it's very effective. So I like this song. Early Roman Kings, interesting, probably my least favourite track on the album. But again, interesting words. I don't think he's really singing about the early Roman kings, more of a metaphor, I think. But I'm not going to try and interpret the lyrics. Just to suffice to say that they're captivating and they're thought-provoking as always. And then we've got Tin Angel, which I think even more than Scarlet Town manages to be a song all in one key, with some pretty groovy bass from Tony Garnier, but and just another gripping tale of people dying and such like. It's excellent. And then we have the tour de force of the whole album, that Dylan's 15-minute or even more, I think it might be even 18 minutes of song about the Titanic. And when this album came out, it was the 100th anniversary of the Fateful Voyage. And he basically tells the tale fairly straight. Bit of poetic license in there, including certain characters like Leonardo and various other characters he invents or he imagines, from the posh ladies to the people who'd never left their homes before, and the watchman he lay dreaming, dreamt the Titanic was sinking. It's very moving. Not everyone liked this song when it came out, but it's an epic in my opinion, and it's right up there with Dylan's best material. I mean, the tune is quite simple, but that's not a bad thing, and Dylan's playing piano, and it's quite repetitive for sure, but the tune is kind of hypnotic, and every so often there's an instrumental verse with the piano or the accordion or the strings, and just very effective. And there is no way of telling the judgment of God's hand. Really moving words. Check it out if you haven't. I think it's great. And then Roll On John is Bob's tribute to John Lennon. And again, this attracted mixed reviews, but I think it's a heartfelt tribute. It's not one of Dylan's absolute classics, but very heartfelt and and quotes lines from Day in the Life. I read the news today, oh boy. And then slow down, you're moving way too fast and stuff. Other little references in there, which are there for the spotting. And, heartbreaking lyrics. And they shot him in the back and he went down, and just, it brings back all those horrible memories of December 1980. But then the main thing about this song is, to remember the people who have been taken from us. I forget what the refrain is, but roll on, John, moving on. You burn so strong, roll on, John. Something like that, anyway. Good track. Good ending to the album, and I'm sure this isn't the last chapter in the work of Bob Dylan, the original work of Bob Dylan, but it's amazing that 50 years after his first album, he would be producing stuff of a quality such as this. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.